Touch Grass with Theo Snodgrass. I'm your host, Theo Snodgrass. Let's say hi to the panel real quick. What's up, guys? How you doing? What's up,
All
panel?
right. Good,
Yeah,
good.
I'm a
Happy 4th of
panel.
July.
Oh
The
man,
show last week made me sick, you bastard.
it happens.
Paneled.
Yeah, it's great. Gal's not here. She's late as usual. Women have no respect for other people's time. I say this all the time on the show. It's a common theme here. Okay, so for those of you,
Wait, I want to say something really quick.
of course you do.
I just
Go ahead.
realized with Touch Grass that it's your name, and whoever was in the chat earlier saying like, "Oh, now that you live in a place that doesn't have grass," it's his name. It's not that he lives in a grassy place.
That would be part of the.
Definitely worth interrupting the monologue for.
That would be the 4% reinforcing.
Yeah, shout out to the 4%. We love you guys. By the way, the 4% showed up in force during. For those of you that remember, last week I interviewed a new friend of mine that I recently met online. Jasmine is what she goes by online. I'm sure that's not her real name, but we're gonna. That's
and
her.
she also wants to touch grass.
Hey, all right. Let's no. So I had a 2-hour show where it's just like a one-on-one sit down with her. You guys who have not seen that should definitely go back and watch it. It was awesome. I'm just gonna start with the things I noticed. One of the things I noticed, I did not do as good a job as I wanted to pulling up the chats. That was the fuck up on my end. That was my fault. We've already talked about that, but I want to pull up. I noticed the fellas were.
Your apology is accepted.
Thank you, Allie. Well, that was mostly for Arza because I felt bad because I have to say, like, the fellas were actually, as I went through it, they were coming up with some good, like, logical arguments. I noticed the 4% was in the chat too, but the ladies were being mean. Y'all did not like her at all. What was up with that?
Well, we do hate each other.
I have a low tolerance for bullshit, and she was spewing a fuck ton.
So much.
She was nice. You guys didn't like her? I thought she was nice.
I'm not saying she wasn't nice. She's full of bullshit.
She was nice in that way that all women can be nice.
Yes. The calculating way.
There's a reason none of us can be friends. We will actively sabotage each other. We will tell each other that things that look terrible actually look good.
Allie, you're much better at using the proper pronouns. I always say they.
Yeah.
That's how much I dislike women.
Oh.
Like, I don't say we. It's something I've noticed.
I'm not above like that sometimes, though as a married woman, I can sidestep that more now.
That's valid.
But there's no point in telling men like, oh no, like hashtag not all, like you're gonna have to deal with it, and I'm super sorry, but some of us are less women than other women. So
I only get along with women that don't get along with women.
Exactly. See,
I don't understand. These women will sit here and they'll say these things, and then they'll give me a hard time for being into guys.
I have never given you a whole
different
time.
story.
I give you shit and call you gay. That is it.
Pause. We just gotta introduce you to the right woman, buddy. I haven't given up on you. We haven't completely lost you to the dark side. Before
it's the same thing with lesbians. They just haven't met the right man.
Bingo. That's definitely true.
That is true.
As soon as she said lesbians are definitely real, I was like, "Oh, shout out to Allie in the chat, friend of the channel," because I knew you were gonna have some.
No,
she
said that her brother thinks that lesbians aren't real, and I was like, lesbians aren't real.
Yeah,
prove to me lesbians are real. You can't show me one.
And by the way, that was one of the things. This is one of the things that I have a hard time with leftists. Is I say this all the time. Leftists are obsessed with outliers to the degree that it warps their thinking. And like what that was in response to, that whole discourse about lesbians, was I said men and women need each other, don't they? Because I was trying to be conciliatory, find common ground. I thought we could agree that men and women do well together. And she was like, well, lesbians exist. And it was like, well,
still need men.
It's exactly. It's like if you say a lot of times, I have these conversations a lot. And if you say to a woman, men are taller than women on average, then she'll say, nuh-uh, I have a friend who's 5'10". And it's like, they just don't like, they're so obsessed with outliers. Like if you say, like, if I say something is universal, I don't mean literally 100% of humans agree with it. What I mean is it's such a widely held experience that I could say it to a crowd full of people and they would be like, that's true. You know what I mean? That's what I mean by universal. And leftists have a hard time with that. They have this hard time with this idea that the middle 70% of the bell curve has mostly common experiences, and that the example they're thinking of in their mind that's causing a triggering emotional reaction is an outlier. They have a really hard time with that cognitively. I don't know why.
That's when you have to ask them. Yeah, but that's when you have to ask them, if I tell you to picture an apple in your brain, can you see it?
No, you don't ask them that.
Please don't do this, please.
You should have asked for the breakfast question.
Do you hear an inner monologue when you are just sitting there?
Myself, God damn it.
Okay.
Allie, be nice. Gal is retarded.
And then when they...
I totally forgot about this.
I have a question for you, Gal. Gal, how would you feel if you didn't have breakfast this morning?
I didn't have breakfast unless you...
You failed.
Oh, God.
Well, to be fair, I haven't eaten it today. All I had was...
That's not the correct answer to the question.
I didn't ask if you had breakfast today.
Stop this now.
I don't care.
Stop this now.
That's not the right answer. See, that's
now.
even the thing. So for that question, they're even like, no offense, but they're not even smart enough to memorize the right answer to the question so that they can appear as though they know what they're talking about. Like, you can answer it correctly by nature, or you can watch other people answer it and memorize the correct answer and be a good chameleon. But they can't even do that.
Well, what I noticed from
at
people
least Gal is honest.
See,
like
what I noticed
hungry?
from
Yes.
No,
That's
what I
the right
noticed from
That's the right answer. Yeah. So it's testing your ability to conjure conditional hypotheticals, which I know you could do. But
I think from people who think like the left side of things, they basically everything to validate them is to ignore the opposite of what they think.
Yeah.
So if you bring
they're
up
1984 goblins.
yeah, like
more about that.
well,
What's
for
up,
instance, I watched a video this morning
What's up,
on
Toasty? How you
Facebook,
doing?
which was it was all female bodybuilders or like versus average dudes, and they had like these challenges.
And the average dude's won, right?
Yes, they creamed the girls.
Yes, obviously.
Like, so they did a weightlift. It was neck and neck for the weightlifting thing, which is what these girls do is weightlift. And they just lost because one guy just got tired because he normally doesn't do that.
Wait,
But
I think I saw that. They were just like super average dudes too, weren't they? Like not even,
one guy was
like good looking, just kind of chubby.
Yeah, one guy was eating a Twinkie between matches. So that's what he was doing. And the last challenge was a tug of war. And like I said, these women lift weights and stuff, and they stood no chance. It was just it's more proof that men shouldn't be in women's sports. But besides that, their whole thing was like, well, we work out, so we're just better than men at all. And even nowadays, like, okay, if we like, hey, men have a higher bone density structure and da da da. Of course, there's some weak guys out there, but on average, no matter how much a woman tries, no offense, but they can't compete. And
even a weak guy is gonna beat a strong woman like 99% of the time.
Yeah, and
How dare you? I'm an outlier.
Yeah, but even with a lot of the outliers, it doesn't work in their favor. And
this is actually like what's crazy is you know, and I'm not trying to be shitty, but like a lot of these feminist women, they hang out with men that validate all their preconceived notions because they're like weak little bitch men, and so they
get laid.
Yeah, those guys are using a sneaky fucker strategy to try to get laid. So they're validating, they're repeating all the feminist talking points. Like, no, I think that's ridiculous. I'm not attracted to women with large breasts. What? Like they'll whatever they have to say to, I definitely think we should have a woman president. Like that, whatever it is that they think is gonna get them laid in a given moment. But actually, it's an insidious like calculation because they can't win in a game of being like conventionally masculine. They can't distinguish themselves in any way that reflects masculine virtue. And so a lot of these women that have these very feminist beliefs and they live in places like, like in the Northwest or on the East Coast or in a lot of these places like the Bay Area in California or wherever they live, they're surrounded by these guys that are just validating their opinions all the time. And they don't see men acting like men. And they also, a lot of times they don't interact with the physical world in a significant way. Like I've noticed the women who are the most realistic about sex differences are women who lift weights competitively, women who do combat sports, women who've been in the military, anywhere where you've had to interact with the physical world alongside men and kind of see it in real life. Those women are very realistic about sex differences.
Didn't Ronda Rousey, I think they asked her like, "Are you mad about the wage gap between MMA fighters for men and women?" And she said, "I would be creamed, but I'm very comfortable." Like,
yeah, she's doing.
Yeah.
Well, I was okay. That was the thing that was frustrating. Is like right off rip, she was like, "Do you have any scientific evidence that sex differences exist?" And I really didn't want to have that kind of conversation. That was like, and what for a couple of reasons. One, sex differences are one of the most widely documented scientific phenomenon. It's really, there's a lot of, and you guys posted a shit ton of it in the chat that I wish I had.
Yes, I have my eyeballs. Thank you.
Yeah. And so it was like one of those things. This is what's kind of frustrating about dealing with leftists is you'll say something that is conventionally
retarded,
in alignment with conventional wisdom, or Von Coleman's in the chat. What's up, buddy? What's in alignment with conventional wisdom, or something that is really not that controversial, and they'll pretend like, "Oh, this is news to me that men and women are different." Well, you say? I haven't heard that before.
Well, just recently, so the all females. I don't watch soccer at all, so the all female soccer team for the United States, like I guess supposedly the top ones or whatever, right? They just recently, they do this every year where they play high school boys and they always lose. So this year they lost significantly, and and they're professionals and shit, right? Supposedly the footage got deleted.
That's crazy.
But every year they try, they lose. We see it.
Shout out to Luck Dragon in the chat. He's asking me out on a date. What's up, buddy? I'm not interested.
They have the footage from previous years of doing that, though. Like, it's so funny.
Even Serena and Venus Williams, right? So Serena and Venus Williams are like the top female tennis players. They play. There's video of them playing against the men. They're like number 100 or whatever, right? And losing significantly.
Wait, no. Not only was he number 100, he was hungover as fuck.
Yeah. And
he had a handicap.
She took it seriously, and he was like 156, and he hung over as fuck, and he kicked her ass.
Yeah, and but we see this time and time again, and that's the facts they want to ignore. That's why, when you watching this female sport, you're trying to see the best of the females. I know they can't run as fast as men or whatever, but that's not what we're looking for. We're out of the female category, who is the fastest, and when you start introducing actual men in there, that defeats the whole purpose of having female sports in the first place.
Yeah. Luck Dragon's back. I am the man to turn a lesbian. I am not gay. Not that there's anything wrong with that. There is something wrong with that. It's gross. No offense, Arsa.
But here's the other thing.
Your personal habits disgusting. I still love you.
Yeah. If they say the lines are the way it is, right, that any man can be a woman and any woman can be a man, how come we don't see a mass number, the same number of women trying to be men going into male sports? Because they would get dominated every time. There's a reason for that.
Because it's hard, and we don't like difficult stuff. It sucks.
Yeah,
Well, a lot of the argument too goes right to she doesn't even give a shit about what the argument is. It's just what is most feels goody at that moment. All she cares about is the emotional part of it. It's all the empathy Olympics for these people. Whatever can make you feel the saddest. Like I found a section where she was talking about how sad she is for little boys because little boys don't get to be themselves and have
right.
to
Okay.
live
Let's see if
they're-
we can pull that up. Hold on.
It is at the 1 hour mark.
Oh, it's the 1 hour mark because I remember that part, and that one kind of tripped me out too. Let me see if I can find the timestamp.
Well, the thing is with that too is, look, life is never fair, and I don't care. Like, there's animals on this earth that don't even live past 24 hours of their
Yeah.
life. You know, then you got that little microscopic little bear thing that can live for eternity or some
Yeah.
shit.
So
There
hey,
are animals. There
Emerald,
are bugs that
can we pull up the clip Arza was talking about real quick? Because I want to dive into this. So this is pretty close. Let's see. It's at the 1 hour mark. You said. Okay.
that looks like where it starts.
Okay, right here. Okay, so am I at the right part? I'm at 58:35. Is that the right spot?
I think that's when you start talking to introduce the subject.
Okay.
1 hour mark is when she starts talking.
Okay, so why don't I? Yeah, well, I'm gonna bump it ahead, and then we'll. Beep.
Not a
Man and the
small
woman.
thing.
Both
It's
parents
a
have to do that.
tremendous responsibility, and I
Mhm.
think for better or for worse, a lot of that falls on women, and I do
Why?
think women are a little better at it.
Why?
I mean, isn't it this one of the biggest feminist complaints is that men are not as emotionally intelligent? Isn't that? I think we
I
kind
don't
of.
know.
Is that one of the big complaints about us?
I certainly haven't made that complaint. I think that patriarchal
Yes, you
values have
have.
led to a situation where men aren't encouraged to, like, do things that are, like where your
Sure.
emotions are on display, where you look into like what's going on with you mentally, emotionally. I think that it's not encouraged, and therefore, again, not nature, it's nurture. That
Gotcha.
you
Okay,
end
that's
up
the
being less
difference.
likely, and you're not encouraged
Yeah,
to be.
okay.
It's not like it's not honored. Like when boys start, you start becoming less of like a little kid and more of a person. It's cute and it's like attractive, or it's encouraged by adults when girls are really sweet. And with boys, it's like cute when they're little, and then
Yeah.
they get like made fun of once you're a little bit older if you're like, I guess, really sweet or like delicate, like sensitive.
Yes, for
And
sure.
it gets like stamped out of boys, and it's really horrible. I can't imagine how much
Yeah,
my
because-
parents were
because-
emotionally sensitive.
It's
I
that-
said this in the
necessary.
chat then.
because the
Because
world
men
is a
have to go to
violent-
war.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
It's preparing them for reality. No one gives
Yeah.
a shit about what men's emotions
Yes.
are.
Yes, and I tried to tell her that.
Men are naturally just good at compartmentalizing. That's why they can go to war. That's why they can get in a fight. That's why. Because that's how they can deal with it. They can just turn off a part of their brain and then turn it off again later, or turn it on
Yes.
again later. And
Yes.
and you, in order to face all of this messed up stuff that men are gonna have to face because we can't, as women, mentally or physically, they're just gonna have to stop. Like, at a certain point, it's like, yeah, you're gonna have to stop crying, boy.
Yeah, it just is what it is. Like, okay, if you're in a crisis, do you want your husband like blubbering?
Freaking
Do you want to
out?
have like a
Right.
struggle session where you guys sit cross-legged on the bed and hold hands while you
Yeah,
cry
it's
together? Or do
and
you
it's
want him
not
to
even
handle
that-
business?
Yeah, it's not even that we look at a man who's crying and we're just like, ew, disgusting. It's like scary. It
Right,
makes
yeah.
us
because it does
uncomfortable
nothing.
because it's like, oh my god, no, I'm the one who cries.
Mhm.
He's supposed to hold it together so that
Yeah.
like I can cry. Like he's supposed to
Right.
be hard and kill the thing, and
Right.
and then later on we can cuddle and hold hands, like, but
And,
not now.
and
And
to
that
be clear,
and men have faster reflexes because of that, physical and mental reflexes. That's why they're better drivers. That's why they're better fighters. Like, I think, like I said, it's not there anymore, but I was saying this in the chat. I was like, men have to deal with this stuff. That's why as little boys we're harder on them, I guess. We're not going to let them cry. I don't
Yes.
think we should let little girls cry either, but in a different way. Like for women, that's how we handle stress. Is it gets to be too much, and so we cry for like 10 minutes if we have to. And then that's how we've recharged. The movie Inside Out shows this really well. the sadness or whatever, she says that. She's like,
Yeah.
crying is how I recharge and so that I can rethink everything and do that. But men don't need to do that, and they don't have to. They can't, because it messes with their mind. Like, that's why when you see men who've grown up and they cry a lot, it's like because some crazy stuff happened in their childhood and now they're totally broken and no one was there to help them. That's why, like, you see little boys and little girls. Like, I homeschool, and so I see a bunch of kids that are away from the public school prison system, and the way that they act is much more aligned with nature because they just let them do it. So you'd see little girls at the homeschool hangouts, and they're playing tea party or going on little walks, you know, and then you see the boys and they're just wrestling and digging holes. Like, that's just how it is. Sorry, lady, that you're so, you know, you want to see little boys cry. Like, is that it? You want to make little boys cry?
Here's what I also want to add to that is that so all her examples is all border on the lines of it's a social construct that's how we make boys and girls the way they are, which is really not. If you just if we go outside the realm of humans and to other mammals, right? You see the same thing. The male cubs play rougher than the female cubs, and it doesn't matter that like you go to any mammal, it's the same thing. That's why you got alpha males in different mammal societies. So you got like gorillas, you got the silverback, and you have to fight other males off and to hold his you know, to have his harem or whatever. And you see that through nature is just so the whole it's a social construct that we like force boys to like blue, the color blue, or to be a certain way is totally bullshit, and you're just ignoring reality.
And to be clear, when it comes to men saying that boys shouldn't cry, the message isn't you can't cry ever. You can't cry right now. The real issue is that men need to be able to hold it in so they can complete the task at hand. And if you need to be a little bitch boy and have a cry afterwards, that's fine because you've done your job. You've done your duty. You've completed the task at hand.
So when this
men
happened,
have to know when to cry. Like, you can cry when somebody dies. You know, you could cry when your dog dies. You could cry when your dad dies. You know, but like men don't even cry when they break a leg. Like, I've seen men in insane accident. I saw a man who got in a motorcycle accident and his leg was like totally mauled and skinned and filled with like gravel and stuff, and he was just sitting there just like waiting for the painkillers. Like, men cry when it is appropriate to cry. You know, someone dies, like that's when I think men cry.
But also they never cry in front of other people, so even if they're crying at, like, you know, they were legitimately really scared about something or what, like I said, the little bitch stuff. They'll cry when they're alone, and so that they can continue to have that strong face for other people. Men don't cry to protect themselves. They don't cry to protect others.
Or like, for instance, there's a video. I'm not going to ask you to pull up the video, but the guy that got mauled by the bear partially, and he's walking by himself carrying his arm, part of his arm that's barely hanging on and shit. And, you know, hey, his face is all ready. Hey, I just almost got mauled by a bear. And like, you know, like, and we see how people who like in a type of danger, they sit there and crawl and like that, and of course they're gonna get killed or whatever. But the person's like, hey, I gotta survive this, and with the adrenaline, and keep pushing it. I can't just sit here and start crying about for my safety or whatever.
Yeah,
I gotta do something to live.
Let's see how I handle this, and we'll rate my response.
Yeah, because she goes on and says a bunch of other dumb stuff too.
Cruel place, and
To
you
boys
need
only?
capable, strong men to deal with it.
Why do the men have to be the ones dealing with it?
Because we're built
Because they
for
can.
So you have to, in this modern world where, like, you know, like troops aren't even as relevant because of the weaponry we have. Men have to physically deal with the world more than women.
Yes. And I'll tell you why.
You have to use your muscles.
Because this modern world that we have, that we're so comfortable in, is very fragile. And if we do not maintain it, we will lose it. We are not a post-history society. We are vulnerable to all of the same war and famine and pestilence that our ancestors dealt with. That's not permanently in the past. It's just long enough ago that we've stopped
can you pause
respecting
it?
it for how dangerous
Yeah.
it is. And I believe...
So she says that like modern warfare, because we have technology, it's not relevant to. I think what she's saying is it's not relevant to have troops on the ground.
Which is
this pissed
retarded.
me off something fierce.
That's
because
retarded.
guess
this
what?
is part
I
of
was in
the
the
reason.
fucking military, bitch. This shit.
This is part.
Don't talk about what you don't know. That's she annoyed me so much with that just one comment because she has no idea what that takes. Just because we have machinery that's a higher level of technology from 100 fucking years ago does not mean that we don't need the troops to actually be there and utilize that machinery. Even with drones, those people still have to man those. It freaks me out and I don't like it, but they're basically playing a fucking video game, but they're still gonna have PTSD of a different sort because they have to do what men have always had to do over the years. And that's still going to fuck them mentally.
They've shown, no matter the branch, that when there are, for example, co-ed troops, that the mission, there are more people who die, there are more casualties, and there are more, the troops are less safe when there's co-ed troops. And that's just simply because of how men and women are naturally toward each other and in nature. Yes, and to say that we just don't need ground troops, like we just don't need infantry because we have technology, like what? So we're just going to be launching nukes at each other like from afar?
Yeah,
that's actually what modern warfare is?
No, that's not reality. Especially if you're in a country that's really mountainous, you really can't like bomb your way into victory. And I know what you're thinking. When would we ever need to fight a country that has mountains? Iran's incredibly mountainous. We would have to do like an aquatic ground invasion if we wanted to take that country.
To also defeat her argument, it's not just like I said. I also have a zoological background, so that's why I always bring animal shit.
That's why you got all them damn cats.
Yeah. So, okay. One, she's never watched Meerkat Manor, or what's the other show with the lemurs? The lemurs, because like the lemurs have their own gangs and stuff. And even right now, we're at a point to where chimpanzees are using weapons against other animals and including other chimpanzees that aren't part of their clan. So there's okay, yeah, we got the technology and we can forge metal and shit. It's not like there's other species out here that men are doing the same shit. And it's biological. And you're just ignoring reality with that shit because you want to not hurt someone's feelings of, because one, no one's the same. I'm not even the same to myself from yesterday compared to today. I probably gained some weight. I started drinking Dr. Pepper again. But whatever. Is like no one's the same and that's okay. And the problem with her type of folks is they want everyone to be in a one gray box, and I think that stems from John Money and all that to blur the lines between what a man and a woman is.
Well, for sure.
Another fact with this, with the animal stuff, and we've done studies on this. There have been parks with just monkeys. They've gone in while the monkeys were sleeping, dropped a bunch of toys, and then just observed what the monkeys did. And the girl monkeys all picked up baby dolls, and the boy monkeys, the little kid monkeys, all picked up toy trucks, being played with them. Monkeys don't even know what a fucking truck is, but because of the design aesthetic of a truck, that's what led the boys to playing with those.
Yeah, they even do it with the human babies too. But like women, feminists specifically, they always bring up the technology thing, and no matter what it is, in law enforcement, in war. But the thing is, like, even with technology, who repairs it? Who maintains it? Who builds it? Also, who has faster reflexes? Men do. Why are men better at video games? If you're talking about technological warfare, men have more technological minds. I'm not talking about outliers because they bring up outliers, but like that's just how it is. And why would you want to do that stuff? Like as a woman, why would you want to be infantry? That sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Why would you want
So
that?
the entire subject of women in infantry, in combat roles is bullshit. And when that first came up in like Obama times, people would ask me that as a female Marine, do you support women going into combat? And I say abso-fucking-lutely not, because there are so many things that women have to deal with that men do not. Just that one particular subject. Guess what? Women have periods. Guess what? They don't pee standing up. They can't piss into a bottle. So if you're on a 24-hour watch, guess what? You're driving around in a Humvee. Dudes can piss in a bottle. Women, you have to stop. You have to make sure that your surroundings are safe. You have to post a watch so she can take a fucking piss.
You know,
People don't think about those things because they aren't in those roles. They don't understand it. They didn't see it firsthand. Guess what? I did. I was one of those. I'm a female Marine. That's a 20-to-1 ratio, male to female. And you drop one female into a group of dudes as another subject that makes it not a combat ready unit is because men will instantly want to fuck her, hate her just in general, or want to protect her. And that is not combat ready. The mission is the mission, and you have to complete it. Exactly.
And there's a good anime
nature.
and manga that represents this well. And the weeb in me has to bring this up. Berserk.
Oh god.
So when Guts fights the 100 men on his own, it was in order to protect Casca, who couldn't fight for herself because she was on her period and was having period pains. So she had to sit out. And he's like, "What the fuck's wrong with you? Pick up your sword and fight." And she couldn't do anything. So he had to fight over 100 men on his own while she recovered. And
Is that the chick that goes crazy, like she can't talk anymore or whatever? Because
yes.
Yeah, okay,
Don't
that's messed
spoil
up.
it. But before that happens in the Golden Arc, they're in the war, their whole clan's being they're in this battle, and she ends up getting her period, and it's the painful kind where she can't do shit. And he's like, "Why don't you pick up your sword and fight?" And then like has to pick up the slack that she's not putting forward because she's has her period.
Well, and that's another thing. Like, she probably doesn't know this because she probably doesn't know a lot about herself. But women, our cycle is more than just like 4 a week where gross and grumpy. Like there are 4 separate parts of what is happening, and they each have their own different thing. And there's like 3 different kinds of hormones that we're dealing with, and you don't even realize, like as women, until we're told and shown how to monitor it, we don't even realize how it's affecting us. Like it's actually cool now because there's apps and stuff where we can monitor that and be like, oh, okay, so literally every month at this time I will be tired, I will be grumpy, like and you can deal with it now. But like to do that, to insert that kind of element into combat that is totally unpredictable and strange. We don't even know what's happening half the time, and then to expect like that to turn out well is absolute insanity. Like that's just crazy. There are some things that I think women could do in the military for sure, but like what she's trying to say is total lunacy. It's retarded. And I don't want to have to draft my daughter. Like, sorry, I don't want to draft a son either, but I really don't want to have to draft my daughter.
Sure. Yeah. Well, this is something that I really wish we'd gotten time to touch on this during the show with her, because I do think we live in a society that hates women, but not in the way that feminists think. We live in a society that hates women because it tells women that they can and should act just like men, and that if they can't, they're somehow not a good feminist. And that's
and it's super
completely
stressful.
insane.
I mean, I would have liked to if you had offered the perspective that the quote-unquote patriarchy exists or existed not because men want to control women, but so that men could deal with the burdens that nobody should ever have to deal with.
Yeah, and I was trying to make that point. I tried really hard to what's up? Iron Oxide is here. What's up, buddy?
Finally got everything.
Made it.
Oh, you
we got
power
the
on.
gold outline now. Yay.
Yeah.
I think at one point I put it in the chat She talked about the men, like she feels sorry for little boys because they're nurtured to not show their emotions. And she said something about modern society. And I had put in the chat, I was like, modern society is fucked up and falling apart right now because we've made men more effeminate and told them that they should show their emotions.
I tried.
Society will fall apart.
I was
Yeah,
trying
he
so hard
was
to make
saying
that
that.
point.
Well, see,
we've deliberately weakened all the men in Western society to turn them into women.
If you
to
look
make them
in the
easier to
chat,
conquer.
if you look in the chat, you should be able to see it during the chat replay what Gal said.
Yeah, hold on. Oh, that's a good point. Let's see if we
Yeah.
can find it. We were at a very high tech show around here.
Yeah, but see, that's how come I always like when talking to feminists or anyone on the left that thinks like that is that's why I bring up examples from like mammals and other parts of nature because their whole crux of their argument is that it's everything is a social construct or whatever, right? When there's no such thing, there's no social construct. It's just certain things happen in nature or whatever.
The only social construct is social construct.
Right. So even the male and female, like I said, the reason why they rely on that is like, well, what if you told boys it's okay to like the color pink or whatever, right?
It's not. Pink is awful.
Right.
Well,
And
it's not that
Not the point.
it's not even that it's colors. Like, because nobody is saying men can't, like, boys can't like pink. People are saying boys don't cry. Like, I don't like pink either. But, like, they're saying boys don't cry when there's no reason to cry. Girls cry when there's no reason to cry. And then hopefully someone tells them that they can calm down. Like, that's what I had to do with my kid. I was like, yeah, sometimes you're going to feel like crying because you're a girl. But you have to sit there and think, is there a reason that I'm crying? Or is it literally just, I am hysterical? There's a reason behind the word hysterical. And, you know, it comes from HYST because we have those parts. And that's just how it is. And this chick would rather deny herself so that she can feel more masculine than otherwise.
Right. And then so to add on to that too. So if you guys don't know, Legos did their own study that they paid for, which is how do men and boys and girls play with toys differently. So even if you give them all the same set of toys or whatever, and just don't tell them anything and let them play, you saw the boys were they either built stuff or were more constructive, while the girls, and like they would play with, and they didn't even give them Legos. They gave them like dolls, where the boys became the figure that they were playing with, while the girls put their personality into the figure as what was supposed. So, like, if you give a boy a Batman figure, the boy plays with that figure as if it's Batman. If you give a girl a Batman figure, the girl
suddenly Batman's a girl.
Yeah, and doing
Batman's
tea
going to tea
parties
parties
and all that type of stuff. And that's and so, but there's major differences in how they play. And
Well, I do want to say, though, one thing. There's another way that girls can play with toys like that. And that's how I played with them, which was Batman wasn't, like, participating in tea parties. Batman was now, like, my husband.
Right.
And he went to work to pay for the tea so that I could have tea parties at home.
Right.
But
But
another
because that's how come states in California that ignored that is trying to make it to where there's gender neutral toy aisles, to where you can't have girl toy aisles and boy toy aisles. You got to mix everything.
And that's crazy. Because, like, what boy wants to walk down to get, Transformers, and it's right next to, like, Kelly and Barbie? Like, what?
But there's also one thing we're not quite considering with this lady. We're assuming she's telling us the truth about everything. As Ali pointed out, she lied multiple times about her TikTok thing. And I'm going through the transcript, it reminded of one key lie. Throughout it, she talks about Rousseau. She's a very big fan of Rousseau. And Theo asks, are you a blank slater? She says she doesn't know what that means. You cannot be a reader of Rousseau and not be a supporter of the blank or understanding of what a blank slate is. Yeah, and all this goes back to her being a blank slater, arguing that men and women are the same. But it's clear that she's lying to us about stuff.
That's a good tag, because this whole Yeah, I noticed that because like all of her arguments that basically like men could her complaints about men basically boil down to why can't men just act more like women, and men would act more like women if we allowed them to or program them to socially, basically. And you have to start from a presupposition that humans are blank slates in order to even get there. So I was like, and to her credit, I will say to her credit, first of all, I think she was a trooper that she stayed the whole time. I think she's a trooper that she even showed up. I appreciate that. And also, there were a couple of points where she, gave ground a little bit. It was admitted that I was making a good point. Like, I think she was saying, what she was saying,
I think she has alternate reasons for doing that, but that's
okay, well, you know what? Whatever her reason was, I'm glad she did it. Again, I like
the
her.
feminist version of a pick me. No, so as far as nurture goes, okay, I could give her a real life example if she watches this, okay? Jasmine, if that is your government name. So my kid had a little friend who was a boy when she was like 5 in school, and they were really close. They did everything together. So I hung out with their parents. Her mom was a feminist and she went to work, and their dad was a stay-at-home dad. And they were nice enough. I didn't talk about anything important with them on purpose. And because I knew. Well, one day, instead of the dad picking them up from the bus stop, it was the mom. And we start talking. And she's trying to find out what kind of person I am. And I don't lie. And she starts telling me how she raises her sons. She had a son who was 5 and a son who was 2. And they were real good boys. And she starts telling me that she raises her sons to know and believe that naturally they are, I'll say it the YouTube friendly way, they are grapists who will hurt women, and it's part of their nature. That is what she told me. She was raising her sons to believe. And immediately, it was like a flash of light. I could see the rest of her sons' lives in front of me. I was like, this is going to be bad. Because these kids are going to grow up to be one of two things, and neither are good.
Uh-huh.
And they moved, and then I saw them a few years later when my kid's friend was 9 or 10, and his little brother was 7 or 8. Okay, I hadn't seen them since. They've been raised by this crazy chick, and she was mad because she said, "Are you raising your daughter like that?" And I was like, "Absolutely not." That's craziness to me. This little boy that was my daughter's friend was a totally different boy after just those few years of constantly being told that he is a threat to his friends, basically. And my kid walks up and she's like, "Oh, it's so nice to see you." And he shrinks away. He made himself smaller. And we're in a public place. It was a festival outside. And he shrinks away. And my daughter's like, "Can I give you a hug?" And he just nods and hugs. And he was afraid to hug her back. And instantly I flashed back to when that chick told me that. And I was like, oh my God, this kid is so broken now. And even back then I was like, I want to kidnap this kid and raise him so that he doesn't grow up to hate himself. Because you could tell. And I tried to lighten the mood. And I was just like, "Hey, you've grown freckles. That's real cute." Try to lighten the mood. And he just looks at me afraid and covered half his face. And I was like, "What the hell?" And she's like, "Oh, yeah, he has body issue problems." And I was just like,
oh, fuck.
That's a real weird thing. I shouldn't have been surprised, but I was.
Ever.
But the worst part was, it was all bad. But the little one comes up a few minutes later while my kid's trying to talk to this kid who was her best friend. and bring him out of his shell. And he's basically standing there shaking. Like I said, he was afraid to touch my daughter. I think it's because he thought he would hurt her, because he's been told that that's what would happen. And I'm not saying men can't. Like, women live every day in the grace of men, because so many of us don't even realize how easily the average man could just squish us. Like, it's not like a lot of men don't even realize it until they hit puberty, and then they're like, "Oh crap, I could really hurt someone. I better chill."
There was a trend going on Reddit a little while ago about all these women who are like, "When did you realize your boyfriend could kill you?" And it was all these women like they were play wrestling, and he's like, "Take it seriously," and he just picks her up, and she can't get free.
Yeah,
because he can just pick her up.
Yeah.
Question for Allie.
Well, I wasn't done, because it gets worse.
Oh no.
So the little kid, like the little brother, walks up, and the second outcome was immediately evident. This kid had hate in his eyes. Like, he stalks up, he looks mad, he's angry. He's like, "Who's this?" A little 7-year-old. And I was just like, this kid is going to do that because he's been told it's his nature. So we have both outcomes. We have this poor, scared little boy who's going to be, hurt and alone forever and have to be in therapy and stuff. And then we have this angry kid who's going to like shoot up a school and beat his wife. Like, and I could see it. And I was like, both of these poor kids, man. Like, and it made me have such little respect for their dad. I was like, how can you be a father to sons and let a woman do this? Like, because it was so evident from the moment you saw that one kid was sad and scared and the other was just a ball of hate. And that is the only outcome every time.
Do these kids go to public school at all or no?
Yeah, of course they go to public school.
Of course, yeah.
So, see, this is what I also think part of the problem is too, is the anti-bullying campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
So same thing, the whole government needs to do the safety measures and all. I think all that's bullshit. Outside of the 2A argument, like, yeah, there's sometimes a school shooting might happen or whatever, right? But in the name of safety, we start losing stuff. So the anti-bullying movement, normally, like, you go to school and you get bullied, and you're like, okay, in order for me to stop getting bullied, I need to do this instead or whatever, right? Well, say the timid brother, or whatever,
social expectations.
Yeah, if the timid brother was like in the 90s or 80s going to school and was able to get bullied for being so timid and stuff, he would be forced to have to come out of a shell and stop being like that, or he's going to just continue to get bullied. And
the jackass brother is going to get his ass beat.
Yeah, for being a jackass.
To be clear, I grew up in the anti-bullying schools. I'm in the generation of the anti-bullying schools. What they do is they protect the bullies because they don't really care about what starts it. They just care about who made the bigger noise. And it's always the person who fights back who makes more noise. So the timid brother is going to never get taught a lesson. And if he gets beaten and he tries to stand up for himself in any way that's productive, he's just going to be viewed as the perpetrator. Whereas the younger brother, if he ever does actually hurt anybody, anyone who tries to stop him from hurting them will be the ones punished, and he'll get rewarded despite being the aggressor.
Well, I came from the anti-bullying thing too, because Columbine happened when I was in 6th grade, and that spiraled everything. And it happened like 45 minutes from where I lived. So it was really big deal, really dark, and it's only gotten worse. And then, I don't know if you know this, but I found out how many years ago now? Like 12 years ago, before all the craziness in schools was really known, I discovered, because when my kid was still going to public school and she was like 4 and 5, I would look through the curriculum. Nobody looks through public school curriculum, but it's available and it's there to look at. I looked through it, including their anti-bullying curriculum. And it was very weird to me because the person who developed it and sold it to schools all across the country was the person who was in charge of NAMBLA. We don't know what NAMBLA is. That's the North American Man-Boy Love Association. which is exactly what it sounds like. And what that anti-bullying curriculum was they had it wasn't just a class. Like when we were kids, you had an assembly and they were like, don't bully. But today they stick it in every single subject randomly at every hour of the day. You can't opt your kid out from it because it's in everything. And they include very in the name of inclusion or whatever, but you know really why, they include lots of very weird, gross stuff in there for very young kids. And this was now, like I said, this was 12 years ago, and I went before the school board, and I showed them. I had screenshots from everything that they had available on their website, and I was like, you should not have this in the school. Why do kids need to know this? And guess what? I got kicked out of a bunch of parent groups on Facebook. They told me that I had to leave. And this was before this was happening a lot. And I had a bunch of people yelling at me, like, you just want kids to be bullied, blah, blah, blah. One parent called me a Nazi, of course. And I was like, you know what? Fine. I'll just withdraw my kid. Like, I don't care. Like, it's not my kid, not my problem, I guess. If this is what you guys want, I've shown you everything. And that only progressed, and especially during COVID, more people knew. And I had people on Facebook that I didn't remember arguing with writing me and saying, oh, hey, I remember you. You were right. And I was like, oh, cool. Maybe if you'd listened to me then.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Wait, okay.
It's almost like I knew what I was talking about.
Let me ask you something. Okay. Let me ask you the panel something. Okay. So obviously Jasmine had a lot of opinions that frustrated people, and they frustrated me, but I was
wrong opinions.
I was kind of in the zone trying to, my goal was to keep her talking the whole time. And I thought, you know, like Arza pointed out, I was using some conversational techniques to keep the emotional temperature down. And I was hoping you guys would benefit from seeing that. Two, we had a real life feminist, you know, in our space, which we never do. We only have TikTok. We never get, you know, a live one in here. So I thought it'd be cool to break up the echo chamber a little bit. And we did that. And that was cool. But why? Obviously, some of her opinions were so disconnected from reality that I was kind of like, I mean, I'd heard that before, but in my head, as I'm talking to her, I'm kind of thinking, how do you have this opinion? Like the stuff about sex differences is a great example. Is this just in her friend group, they prefer consensus building and social cohesion to like hearing the truth? Is that how this is formed? Well, it's just everybody yas queening each other.
I think it's partially that. So okay, we outside of like even this topic, just anything on the left, if like whenever they hear an opinion that is different than theirs, is either they need to shut it up real quick and it's not allowed to say what their sides are, or they don't even like to agree to disagree. So that's why there's this like people rioting and stuff now about the deportation things, and then you can be like, well, the reason why it's doing this is because this and this and this reason. All those reasons go in one year and come out the other. They totally shut it down. We don't care. It's we are the ones who care for people. Not but the people who do support ICE or whatever do care for people, but just understanding that you just can't take care of everyone because that takes taxes, resources, and other stuff from your actual citizens. So but basically, they don't want to have that understanding. So it's basically shut that person down or shut them up, or exclude that person outside of our spaces. So that's how come it's like, go punch a Nazi. Like they don't really have discussions. And even right now, Jubilee's having a hard time finding people to do the one person versus how many when it's on the left, someone just on the left to sit and talk to a bunch of conservatives or whatever, or anyone that has a different opinion than theirs. But you'll find conservatives really, or anyone on the right, of Bernie Sanders willing to do that.
Yeah,
It's just-
good. I wanted one thing. I want Arza, you jump in, but I do want to tell this because what Vagabond's saying is exactly right. If you remember during the when I was talking to Jasmine, one of the things she said was, "Oh my God, I've never met someone like you before," which I thought meaning someone with my views, and I thought that was so funny because I've talked to hundreds, if not thousands, of women and some men with her exact views. I've had this conversation hundreds of other times, you know, and I think this is a real problem. There's very few people on the right who've never heard a left-wing argument, but there's a ton of people on the left who have never heard a right-wing position articulated well. Anyway, go ahead.
I think she was being a little disingenuous with that to try and make you feel like to belittle you.
No, actually,
really? I didn't.
I don't know.
About
no,
that?
I disagree with you
Because
entirely.
that's when she brought up like, oh, my brother has right wing views. It's like, okay, so you've never met anyone except your brother.
No. What I think was going on,
except everyone in the Mennonite community. Like,
I think she legitimately doesn't. Feminists will hold two contradictory positions consistently and never once consider the fact that they're contradictory. But
yeah, they're great at doublethink.
When she's never met anyone, she's never met anyone in a public position who vocally stated those beliefs. Because I've known a lot of people like her. I used to go to a board game club in college. I knew all of these people. And what these people, when they hear alternating opinions, they cannot let it lie. They will continuously attack you until you recant or you're no longer in the space. So what people with our positions do is we generally don't talk to it if somebody has the red flags. And I guarantee you, people around her know if they have any of the wrong think opinions, if they say it, they're gone. They're a social pariah now.
Okay.
Well, and they'd rather not deal with it too, probably. But there's another option too. So women have this thing, especially low IQ women, where they don't view certain people as people. They're ghosts. And Homath again has talked about that as well. Especially men under a certain point system just don't exist. Like we just don't see them, and we don't even realize we're not seeing them. They're not people, and I guarantee that's what she's done. So even if she has met people and they've spoken, she might not even remember them as people.
Disassociation, again, it's the whole point of the foundation of racism. Equate a person to just being an object, and then you don't have to actually retain anything they're actually saying.
Right. Well, I talk about this a lot. So
background NPCs.
To some women, the guys there that they don't find sufficiently attractive are just like amorphous, asexual blobs in their peripheral vision. They don't even see them. Those are the guys memorizing their order at Starbucks, holding the door open for them when they come up to their apartment building with groceries. Like these are the guys that just all through their lives are doing things to make their life easier, and they don't even see them. They just walk by and they're just fucking set pieces.
Yeah,
in her fucking Sex and the City fantasy.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, women are rich people. Like, because rich people often don't view all the people around them as people. All the people, the little people that do all the little things. Women are very rich in how we are treated in society, and we're blind to that until we're forced to see it, or if we've been raised a different way. And women today are very, very coddled. In that way, and she might not even know. It's like, how can you blame a dog for that you haven't trained not to pee on the floor? You can't. Yeah. It doesn't know any better. Yeah. You have to train it, and women are trainable.
And the other thing I like to add too is just anyone with a dissenting opinion that like they excommunicate them, even if it's on. They might agree on like 99.9%. Like, look how they treat J.K. Rowling. She believes in race swaps. She probably supports the LGBT.
Wait, are you talking about Severus Snoop?
I don't know who that is.
I think it's her position on trans stuff. Because J.K. Rowling's opinions on 90% of stuff, she's a pretty typical lefty feminist, right?
Yeah, but she doesn't believe in
yeah, but
Her
you said she
transphobia
believes
is
in.
rooted in misandry.
Oh,
She-
yeah. There was
You
a
said she
time.
believes in race swaps, so Severus Snoop.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
Hermione.
Yeah,
she
Hermione
said-
was the one I was thinking
Yeah,
about.
she could be black. It was a throwaway comment.
Yeah, but the new
And
Snape
Dumbledore is gay now.
black
Yes.
now.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's the other part.
Dumbledore
I just
also had an
decided.
incident with the goat, though, so he might be a little more Muslim than we think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the whole point with J.K. Rowling is that she stepped out of the leftist bubble with the dispute of the fact that women are women,
Right.
men are men, and one
Yeah,
cannot.
what do they
become
call
another.
that? The turf?
turf.
She's
Yeah,
a turf.
Turf.
Yeah.
Trans.
Yeah.
Shout out
Trans
to Turfs,
Trans
friend of the
exclusionary
channel.
radical
radical
feminist.
feminist.
We
Yeah.
love the Turfs over here.
Remember,
But,
she's
like-
only a turf because she hates men. That's the only reason she's a turf.
But still, that's the only disagreeing thing that she
Okay.
has with that side. And what
Well,
do they
it's a
do
cult.
is, okay, we got to remove her out of her community. And and so that's what they always do is they can't have any dissenting opinion. But on the right side of things, like I'm an ANCAP libertarian, right? I don't
Mhm.
believe in government, but everyone that's conservative or Republican, even if they don't agree with that point, they'll still have a conversation with me, whatever. Like a Republican that doesn't believe in smoking weed and drugs and stuff will still be willing to hear my opinion on, and that's the other. So that's the thing. Like I think all drugs should be legal or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
bro, not to be an asshole, but my platform is explicitly anti-pornography, and you're a crazy gooner, and I have you on my show every week.
Yeah.
So, like we just, you know what I mean? We just get along and we keep it pushing. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's just it ain't that serious, you know?
Yeah, so and so that's the differences. Is like, okay, I don't like the right now. What's all the states trying to ban porn, specifically
Yeah,
Pornhub.
they're trying to pass laws to actually have actual ID validation to make
I'm
sure
against that wholeheartedly because then the government don't need to have my ID and everything, and I do whatever. And I think the internet should be kind of like the Wild Wild West still, but that's a whole nother topic. But but there's Republicans and stuff that would totally disagree with me, but they would still have me on the show and talk to me and have a discussion. Anyone on the left, because I don't believe anything Bernie Sanders or Hassan Piker has to say, they would not talk to me whatever for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Well, they might talk to you, but they're gonna call you like a race traitor and stuff.
Oh,
probably.
yeah, that's why I'm a friendly neighborhood Uncle Tom. So,
yeah, I that's why I said I actually think Jasmine was kind of a trooper for showing up and staying the whole time. Like
I
she
do
stayed the whole
respect her
2
for
hours.
that.
She didn't rage
She had
quit.
alternate
She didn't
motives.
spurg out. She did. That's okay. Allie insists that she had ulterior motives for hanging out with. But even if she did,
in my opinion, I thought you did a good job of like not provoking her to where she would. Because normally, what would happen if you outright and said something you disagreed with, but was a little bit combative? Usually, that's when we've seen it multiple times when people like that leave the interview or try to shut down whatever you have to say, and then you had no interview at all. So, up until that point.
That's why
You were trying to have a
her-
discussion with her, so
Yeah, that's why I asked her on my show, because I want to say the stuff to her that like Theo was too afraid to say out
Well-
of fear of losing a guest.
Yeah, and to that point, it wasn't really a conversation. It was much more of a very non-confrontational interview. Because Theo wasn't allowed to be confrontational. He wasn't allowed to be rude. Because there were several times where you could see her cursor hovering over the leave call button.
Yeah, but then at
Really?
the end she goes, "This wasn't very exciting."
yeah,
This
it's just like
wasn't
this
fun,
is shitty
funny,
content,
boring.
and I was like,
Yeah.
well, you're wrong because that's the thing. She doesn't understand how much you guys hated her. That's my most viewed episode right now. Like that got across platforms. That episode did stupendously well because you guys fucking hated her. My active viewers was like locked at the highest number, and people stayed watching the whole time. So
Well, okay. I want to be clear. I don't hate her the same way I don't hate, like I said, a dog that you haven't trained not to pee on the floor. It doesn't know any better. But I'll like, okay. I firmly believe that if you had 3 months with her, like living in your house, right?
Yeah.
I firmly believe you
I could
could
train her.
untrain
Yeah.
all
Just make
of
her
that
sick.
out of her because
I
we
can
are
fix her.
so moldable.
I can fix her.
Oh
Yeah,
my
well,
god!
easy.
By
I'm not- that's
6
not even a
months, she'll
joke,
have a
like-
whole new training method.
She'll
Yeah,
have a
we'll have
whole
her
new
go to a Latin
personality.
mass, wearing a veil. It'd be
Her
great.
hair will be normal. Like, that was one thing. Like, you can tell from her hair exactly what it is because she came to the thing trying to dress down. Like, if you look at her TikTok that she lied about, she's dressed down. She has less makeup on, but she also has the Harley Quinn hair, the black and red Harley Quinn hair. And much like a poisonous frog, that is an alert. That's why I kept saying, warning, warning. This is a literal red flag, but it's only half a red flag because only half her hair is red. That's like she's trying to camouflage and come off as reasonable so that she can get in, stick her fingernail in and peel back the sticker. Like, that's what she's trying to do. And I called it from the jump. That's why I knew exactly what would happen. I was like, she saw Theo's hair and his beard, and she thought, oh, he's got hippie tendencies. I love that. Like, got a little bit like Jesus. That's what she is into. I know these chicks. They were who I hung out with in Colorado, and all their feminist men counterparts. Like, and I had conversations with them back then when they were my friends. They're obviously not my friends anymore. But I was like, I know this chick from the jump. She's lying about everything. It's all red flags. She's more than welcome to come on my channel where I won't be as nice. And I even told her, I was like, it'll be exciting content. I can promise you that.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
it won't be boring. But
Question.
she was bored.
Do you think do you think she likes Rings of Power? So I went on her TikTok before you had her on.
Yes.
So she was saying she had some of her tattoos was based on Lord of the Rings. So if then
Guarantee she doesn't understand Lord of the Rings either, and she doesn't know that Tolkien was Catholic.
Yeah.
Right. But because I was like, that would have been one of my questions is like, what do you think about Rings of Power? So
Yeah.
That's a good question, actually, because she was probably, when they did the fake influencers for the Rings of Power plus Privilege, and they had the gay one that was just like, oh, Sauron, he's so hot. Yeah, like, they had all that, and then they bring in, I forget his name. I didn't watch it. I just watched reviews. But they brought in that guy who's like, he's got a couple days growth, and he's like, oh, he's a gritty, Aragorn, Boromir type guy. They brought him in, and they're like, this is totally Sauron, you guys. Like, I guarantee she looks at him and she buys into it. She's like, oh yeah. Like, she looks at that guy and loves it.
Because here's the other thing too, is like, okay, if you're an actual fan of a series and like, okay, the original author and whoever dealt with the IP before is no longer around, and someone new comes in and they start changing things that don't make sense to the lore, the story, and stuff like that. Like, as a fan, I really hate that type of stuff. So, but since it's like more women empowerment and all that type of stuff, and there's LGBT and references and all the other race swaps and stuff in there. That's why I was like,
the whole like Frodo and Sam are gay thing.
Yeah, it's just there's a bunch of things that like, okay, well, if you're really a fan of it, when you just want them to make a new IP that maybe it was inspired by Lord of the Rings, but not is Lord of the Rings, and then whatever.
If they had done that, I don't think anyone would have cared. Like, it wouldn't have been a very good show, but it would have been a random inspired fantasy, and people would have been like, okay, whatever. But because they tried to masquerade it as Lord of the Rings, and then they botched Elvish, by the way. The Elvish they used in the show was wrong. I want to
Yeah.
throw that in there. I bet she doesn't know that.
I actually want to drill down on this because I was thinking about this a lot. So the reason I like Lord of the Rings is because it's explicitly Catholic, and a lot of the characters' motivations have Catholic themes. If you know what you're looking at, obviously you can be not Catholic and enjoy it and get something out of it. But there's a lot of Catholic themes.
Well, that's
that
how
run
he wrote
throughout.
it.
Right. So I see all the Catholic themes, and it gets my dick hard. I get excited. But like, what do you think she's getting out of it? Because she's going into this with her whole framework for reality is collectivist, identity politics, feminism, all this stuff. How is she going into Lord of the Rings with it being what it is and it having the virtues and the moral
She's just looking at hot guys.
No.
That can't be it. Come on.
No, it's not that. It's not that, Allie. At least, I hope it's not. In most
God.
there's a huge amount of literature on reading Tolkien as a leftist. There's actually a huge focus on the liberalization of Tolkien mythology and writing. And a lot of it is reading Sam and Bilbo's relationships being gays. A lot of it is reading DEI messages into the motivation between the different races coming together to fight Sauron. There's a lot of ways that leftists read Tolkien, and that's incorrect, to affirm their negative beliefs, and they completely ignore or they twist the things that are very Catholic to their favor.
There was a whole I forget what it was called. Like there was a Tolkien festival or something, and people looked at the lineup of the panels and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was all like the queer coded stuff from I forgot about that.
Well,
that's a good point.
They do that. Okay, so I seen that in the Digimon community for those who are into Digimon. We're just like,
what?
It makes no fucking sense. So
they're babies. Digimon are little kids.
So the thing is, I seen people be like, well, Digimon's evolution is a trans allegory. I'm like, where the hell you get that from? So now you got like these. I think they're all tourists, and they were never fans in the first place.
Yeah.
So I see
they're fans of the version they made up in their head.
Yeah.
Subverting fandoms. That should be a sin.
Yeah. So it's like they were like they start drawing shit and have the flags or whatever. I'm like, where do you even get this shit from? Like, there's nothing in the show that indicates any of this shit, and like you're just making this shit up on the top of your head.
They did the same thing with Interview with the Vampire too.
Yeah, and I actually want to drill down on this because this is really important because this ties into something else she brought up. On the one hand, leftists will say men are homophobic, men don't share their emotions, men don't have intimate friendships, men don't have good intimate moments with their male friends, and this harms them and makes them worse people. And then when that is showcased, because when men do form intimate relationships with men, it's during moments of like high conflict and like combat and war and stress and stuff like that.
Sorry.
Like Frodo or like Legolas and Aragorn is how men do form friendships in like high stress, like combat type situations. And so when that actually is showcased, which is a real aspect to how men move in the world and how men form relationships and how men bond with each other, they're like, oh, they're all gay. They just try to sexualize it. So it's like they try to kind of have it both ways. They try to say they can't make friends. And then when men do make friends, they try to sexualize it.
Like, doesn't C.S. Lewis have a quote about the follies of people who can't understand French but immediately associates it to romance?
Yes, that's from his Four Loves, I think.
Yeah. By the way, Mr. Scott, friend of the show, a big Touchgrass fan, usually over on Rumble. Today's on YouTube because Rumble shit the bed. He's making a great point. It's something you guys brought up earlier. I was confused on how she grew up Mennonite and her brother being the man telling his wife that she can't wear a bathing suit, but somehow she never met Theo with his mainstay Catholic view. Seems fishy. Great point. That was something that Allie brought up. I think ours expressed some skepticism. I think everybody was a little skeptical about
she's
that.
She's both Amish and Jewish, apparently, too. So like,
yeah, okay. And then he also brought up, are we talking? I think she was a little more clever than you think. The areas focused on to question her Mennonite life and how to dig through her worldview and where it crosses with her current worldview. I think you're exactly right there. It was okay. So in the moment, my main focus is how do I keep this chick from crashing out so she doesn't leave? That's my main thing, because I'm not going to lie about what I think. I want to express my views honestly, but I want to do it in a way where she doesn't leave. So in hindsight, watching it back, I'm like, oh yeah, you guys were right. As the viewers, you caught stuff that I didn't even catch, where she was saying stuff that I was like, oh yeah, I really wish I drilled down on that more.
Maybe in the future you should do more of a Socrates thing and just ask her questions constantly that, you know, like Andrew Wilson does, where you just have her realize in real time where all of her crossed views.
No, and you're right. So, because the times I was the most successful was like when I asked her the no true Scotsman question. I think that was maybe one of my better moments. Or when I asked her, when I said, hey, I think men should hold each other accountable. Do you think women hold each other accountable? And she was like, no, we fucking girl boss. We Yas Queen each other into oblivion. Like the times when we had good moments where she was really agreeing with me were times when I was doing what you're saying, which is like asking her questions. And I wasn't even doing it in like a really pointed, aggressive way. Like I'm never.
It's the same way you have to deal with a child.
Yeah, and I know it's shitty to say, but I kind of agree with you. And it's like, okay, like she didn't understand. Like when we were talking about women going online and posting how happy they are being single, and I was like, that's cope. And she's like, nuh-uh. And I was like, well, when men do it, it's cope. And she's like, oh yeah, when men do it, it's cope. Oh yeah, I guess when women do it, it's cope too. Like that, like she actually realized it in real time. But I wasn't like a dick about it. I was just like, yep, there we go. Like, I agree.
Well, and like even on a long enough timeline, it's like the happiness. Did you touch at some point on happiness? I don't remember. But the happiness of being single, like maybe you're single for the first month after a really hard relationship and you'll go out and you're like, I'm so happy being single. Yeah. But like the longer that time goes and the older that you get, the less happy you are being single. And that's just human nature. And they want to believe they're superhuman. But like even Superman is lonely, okay?
Yeah.
There's a video on this too. Well, not on purpose, but like, so this guy goes out to one of those feminist left rallies or whatever. It wasn't even a feminist rally. It was one of those Black Lives Matters or some shit. And so, it's they're all the same now. So basically, this white lady was yelling out, listen to all black women or whatever, right? So the guy's like, okay, well. Or something like they're always right, and the guy's like, okay, what about black Republican women? Are they always right? And so she had to shut up, and she like tried to find a way to walk away from the question.
No, because then their answer to that is, oh, they're just Uncle Tom's. Like they're just brainwashed. Like,
well, she didn't even try to answer. She tried to get someone else to answer for her and try to leave.
Now,
oh my god!
There is one thing we all kind of forgot that she said because it was so filled with main character energy, and I think that's one thing we haven't tackled in here. She really was. She saw herself as the main character, and I think that goes into why partially she's Tolkien. But do you remember what was her? Yes, but do you guys remember what she said was the reason she was so into being a Mennonite?
No.
They had she claimed they had a prophecy about her.
Oh God, yes.
Oh yeah.
I forgot about that part.
She's baby Harry Potter or something.
Can we pull that? Okay, Arza, where is that in the?
I will find you.
Where is that? Can you find the timestamp for that? Because I want to pull that up.
I forgot about that.
There was
1 hour and 3 minutes in.
An hour and 3 minutes in. You got it. Okay.
That's so funny too.
Let me know when you're
it's
ready.
like,
okay.
I wish that we had asked what her prophecy was, but I was so mad about other stuff.
You know, that stuff. I was raised Mennonite.
And shit, really?
Oh yeah. I was so there was a prophecy about me when I was a kid. It was so serious.
Oh shit.
Behind after
got a prophecy, baby.
Really, it was so intense. I prayed every 30 seconds as a kid. I had to because it was like all on my shoulders.
Mennonite Jesus.
I was a zealot. I was so religious. My whole life.
A little baby zealot.
So
there's nothing wrong with being a zealot.
We can get into as much into that as you want. I've read more biblical stuff than anyone else I know. But I guess the thing is that
Yeah. Do you want me to play more? Or do we want to talk about that? Because that I feel like right there is enough to work with.
I wish we knew what the prophecy was, but I understand being a child and being zealously religious because as a Christian child, I was as well. And I sympathize with her because that's part of what put me into the atheist sphere. Like you were there, I was there. You remember Atheist Tube. Like that I understand where she's coming from with that. But it's funny that she's like, there was a prophecy. It's like, what was the prophecy? Like what was on your shoulders? Like how?
She's gonna bring balance to the Force.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, see, okay, so this is something
She's a Skywalker now.
So, just from a perspective of managing these conversations, so if you're talking to women like this, they're gonna say ridiculous nonsense at such a frequency that you can't address it every time. You kind of just gotta yes and it because that keeps them talking. So. And then you got to really pick your battles. So this is where I would say if you want the conversation to keep going and if you want to be able to manage interpersonal relationships with people like this so that you can have these conversations more than once, you're going to have to just yes and their bullshit to a degree. And by the way, they will not do it reciprocally for you. They will nitpick everything you say. They will not return this courtesy and they won't even assume that you're good faith. That's what can be really frustrating about dialoguing, particularly with feminists as a guy, especially if you have the views like that I have or that maybe some of you guys have.
Even as a chick, she told you that she was worried I wouldn't come in good faith.
Yeah, and what I was crazy about that is like I was in my head, I'm thinking, nah, she really thinks that. Like she's not trolling. Like she really thinks that shit, and she means it. She's not kidding. And
I think when she got really mad was the repeal the 19th thing.
Yeah, she didn't love that. But you really think that though. And that's, I mean, I did too, but I wasn't going to say that. Like, you're not saying that just to like, some people do say that just to get a reaction. And then there's some people who like, I say it really reluctantly. Like, I'm not excited about it. It is my opinion, but I didn't come to that. I didn't want to think that, it was just like reading and like learning.
That's in my homeschool curriculum. That's how much I believe in that.
Based. Hold on. Let's see what Mr. Scott was saying.
If I called my kid down here right now, I would ask her that question, and she'd be like, "Oh yeah, you definitely think that." Like I'm not afraid of that.
Hold on. She says she's logical. Then she says George Floyd was murdered. Apparently, she didn't see the video of putting the pill in his mouth and ignore the toxicology report and the worst bad stuff. Do we want to go over the George Floyd part? Because I completely let that go. Do we want to review that?
It's why there's no point.
1 hour 56 minutes was the first match.
That was right at the end, and it was just like, oh, I don't even have time to get into this. Oh my god!
The only reason she can think that is because she lacks any knowledge of it.
Yeah,
it is beneficial to believe what you were lied to thinking.
Her, being a doctor and do everything. Like he was just like a horrible guy, and it was so easy to just fulfill those traditional things, and then just like be a terrible partner. Like if we're
there we go.
One of the brother that that he got married at 17, and. It was like he's very, very like he is the super Christian, like he's the leader of his family. He tells his wife what to do. Like he wants to I don't know. I guess this is maybe not the best. Is this an example of most people don't want to be a killjoy at all? And my family's Jewish on my mother's side. So, Jewish people do it. So like it's down the bloodlines through the mother, and she's like 100% Ashkenazi, but my brother wanted to get along so much so that they were housing a Nazi, like with a swastika tattoo in his home. And because, that's just a weird...
Okay, hold on. I just want to pause right here. What the fuck does that... So wait, her mom was a Jew who housed a Nazi? What did I misinterpret that? What happened?
Well, no, she was saying that's how kind they were. Because they would never, the women, it's just so that the women can't stand up for themselves, and they'd let the killers in through the front door because they're kind. Which is ironic because that's what liberals do.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, what's crazy is like, anyway, this ends up being very roundabout.
His Christian. I guess I'm not going to follow that point where I was going to, but one of my other brothers, the thing you're talking about right here, like the wanting to interrupt your friends and say something, like one of my other brothers, we had a conversation during like shortly after George Floyd was murdered. We were having a conversation, and my dad's brother.
You see me smirking. You can actually see me starting to smirk here, and I'm like, fuck.
Casually, and his wife's from Mississippi. They talk like that. Apparently, they talk like that.
You threw that in
it turned
as
into
bait.
a big thing where I was being the killjoy for not wanting to say the N-word. But we had a big talk, and that brother and my dad sat there silently the whole time.
I'm trying not to laugh. You can see it.
He's like, I have black friends, like, and I was like, would you have spoken up if they were here with us? And it was really interesting because he almost perfectly aligns with all of what you're saying here. He's right in the same space, but wants to thinks that at some point there's gonna be, I guess, these conversations, you're having conversations with a lot of people, you want to be really open to everyone. And I think that it's more common for those that want to be open to a lot of people and see it as good behavior, for them to not be comfortable with doing the exact thing you just laid out. You really, really don't want to seem like a killjoy, and you don't want to call people out. And in my brother's case, he does that to such an extreme degree that the last time we talked about that, he said something about that uncle saying the N-word frequently. And he's like, well, if I called it out every time, when we're working out, bucking bales out in the field, it'd be really uncomfortable. And then I wouldn't have a chance in the future if he ever does something bad to talk to him. He doesn't talk to you anymore. And I was like, okay, but that's just you standing by while they do bad behaviors the whole time. You're just standing by silently. And that one is what I see a lot more frequently, is people standing by silently.
Okay, that's enough of that. Okay. Because
silence is violence.
Why are we cutting off our family members over stuff that happens in the news? Why are we doing that?
I think she was saying that she called out her uncle because her uncle says the N-word sometimes. And because of that, she's looked at in her family as a killjoy. So they don't want to hang out with her anymore. I think that's what she's saying is happening. But I guarantee if we asked her uncle, we would get a different version of what happened.
Hands up if you've had a leftist family member who's cut you off for some reason, or a leftist friend who's told you to fuck. And here's the thing, everybody on the right who has that situation, when I hear them tell the story, they're like, yep, I love so-and-so. She really went off the deep end after Trump got elected, but I love her and I'd love to have her in my life. I won't even talk about politics if she comes over. I'd love to just have a relationship with the person, but there you go. Then you hear the leftists talk about it and they're like, I can't talk to until they go to therapy.
So one of my cousins unfollowed me, unfriended me on Facebook because I didn't have enough pictures with other black people.
What? Why? You're like, my natural diversity isn't enough for you? Jeez.
You surely ain't black enough.
That's
so
crazy.
How dare you?
Yeah, so I honestly I remember that part because I wrote in chat. I gave her uncle the N-word pass.
Wait. Is the cousin white or black?
Black. Well,
okay.
I do got my family is kind of complicated. So my dad has brothers and sisters, but my dad and a few of my aunts are the mixed ones. So we're the mixed side of the family. And so
is the cousin mixed?
No, she's the full black one. So there is colorism and shit. But that's if you want to talk about actual racism, then black people actually have that shit. But that's a whole nother can of worms that we could talk to. But the thing it was there's not a that side of the family got the African names and changed their name from this to that and all that type of shit. So it was some other shit too, but yeah, she unfriended me. So
do you think that Jasmine would tell you that you're not allowed to say the N-word?
No. So I
I wonder why.
No, well, here's why I think that. It's because leftist white women hold black people to a standard they don't hold anybody else. That's one. Two, they try to make black people superior to themselves for whatever reason. So
White
like,
guilt.
well, that too, but you'll see that like they'll make comments that were like, I only date black men because they got a bigger what than white folks or whatever, and like they'll say anything to devalue white people instead. I find it weird, but whatever. Because it's like they're the only people that do that, and but the other thing too is like you can't have any black person that doesn't go follow their viewpoint or whatever. It's like they don't exist to them for whatever reason.
Hey, you're a race traitor.
Well, I'll hear the race traitor from other black people, or is usually the Uncle Tom.
I mean, I could say a term that I said a couple of weeks ago, but I feel like Theo wouldn't appreciate it. So.
Please don't. Please don't. Please don't. We're still on YouTube.
But like, I don't know where she's from or whatever. But like, there's white folks in the South that say the N-word because they hang out, or even in Southern California, they hung up and grew up around black people as if they were family, and everyone just said it around them, so they just said it naturally, even in conversation when you're talking to them. And
well, and it's in music, and it's in like.
Well, you're not allowed to sing those lyrics.
Yeah, well, like
you have to bleep yourself.
But even still, even without the music excuse, right? There's white folks that like I knew a guy. I won't say his name, but he was adopted by a black woman, and he full on white and talked like he was black like anyone else, and so he would say the N-word, and none of us batted an eye.
Well, white liberal women,
some white liberal women's gonna be like, how come you're not offended? He said the N-word.
Yeah.
Why don't you care?
I do believe in the black community, like there needs to be a thing called sticks and stones. Like even if someone did say it as a racist statement, like I personally don't care. Like I know not everyone needs to be my friend, and that's okay. So like,
well, it's
okay,
like how much do you want a word to have power over you?
Yeah, and I think it's a waste of time being offended by everything, and I was like, all right, well, okay, this person hates my guts or whatever. I even think Johnny Rebel, some of his tunes are kind of catchy. I'll listen to them sometimes. So let's just say, so that probably excommunicate me from black community too, but whatever.
Oh no.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, that was. I don't know. Yeah, I just didn't have time to, because we were right at the end of we were right at the 2-hour mark when she dropped that, and I was like, Jesus Christ.
She was trying to. I think that was bait. Like she threw that in there. Like
that
was
makes sense.
Murdered. Like okay, cool, thanks.
Yeah, even still, like I'm sure we all heard like someone tell you their side of the story, and like okay, it might sound believable, and then you talk to the actual person that they're talking to, and you hear their side of. Oh, it's like okay, that other person was just tripping. There could have been like one time he said it, and maybe he was doing a Dave Chappelle sketch or something. It was just happened to say the word or whatever, and then she just started tripping or whatever. Like until we know his side of the story, I just like leftists get offended by everything, so you just gotta like not take their word for value right up front.
Yeah. Also, just old people have different norms, and you just kind of put up with it. I don't know. That's kind of how I feel about it. My dad
and Mama would say it all the time, and it was embarrassing for me as a 12-year-old in the grocery store. But like, what are you gonna do? You know, she's 90.
So the R word, which we would use now say mentally challenged or whatever, or
retard.
Whatever. Okay, I don't know if we wanted to say that, Theo. So
yeah.
But okay, so
okay?
The word retard was supposed to be like the word that was supposed to be the safe word to say, and not say the other stuff about the everyone else. And look how that's changed or whatever.
And, well, as a woman, I give all of you guys the retard pass because all women are tards.
Well, the funny thing is, women also don't even hold, or feminists and leftists don't even hold this language policing to the same standard. I had a friend who broke up the friendship over politics, who at one point in time made the argument that lesbians aren't allowed to say the fig word because
they're not men.
Because they're not men. It was originally made to mean a failure of a man. Which also isn't true. To which I point out he's British and his favorite word is cunt. If you can't, if women can't, if lesbians
it's
can't
different
say
when
pig,
Brits and Australians say it. It like sounds different, you know.
He also says bitch a lot. So those are two explicitly female-focused slurs, and yet he's saying that women can't say fig, but he can say those.
I mean, but this goes back to what I said a few minutes ago. Like, how much power do you want a word to have over you? You know, which is another thing I wanted to say, Theo. She's absolutely a crystal chick. Like, if you asked her what color crystal is her favorite, she would say purple or something, you know, and then she'd know all the attributes, the positive and negative attributes of it, what introducing that crystal would be into your life. Like, she's absolutely a crystal chick. She mentioned it. And
Gotcha.
To be fair, Theo
so,
kind of looks like a crystal chick too.
I do. This is to be like, here's the thing. I am a full-on hippie and I have a ton of mystical beliefs. I've just channeled them into traditional Catholicism. Like, I'm a very mystical Catholic. So
tell me, how many girls have given you pieces of rose quartz?
Hey, that's confidential. We're not gonna mention that.
That's not important here. That's not important. What we're talking about,
bro. How many, dude? Do you know how many bitches I've had being like that?
Look, you gotta read Mr. Scott's
room. Tell me the time and place of your birth.
Yeah. Oh my God. Because I don't answer that. So that I got into a fight with a woman at not a verbal altercation that I didn't want to escalate. But it kept escalating.
You punched a bitch out. Don't lie.
I wish. Oh, I should have. I was at my friend's birthday party and she kept like asking me my astrology sign. And I said, I'm not. But at first she asked me and I stopped and I stared at her for a second. And I turned to the woman next to me. I was like, does anybody want to talk about anything else? Just like genocide of the Congo, literally anything else but this. I don't want to talk about this.
Here's why.
Laughed.
Here's why I don't believe any of that stuff. So for the longest time, my dad thought I was Scorpio. Yeah, because he just thought it was for someone who was born in November, and he didn't realize, and he thought like Sagittarius was December. So for a while, I thought, okay, I was a Scorpio. So anything I read in Scorpio was like, oh, this sounds like me, whatever. And like, I think it's just like when you go buy, instead of actually writing a card for a birthday card or whatever, gift card to somebody, is when you go to the grocery store and like, oh, this sounds like something I would say, and then you just sign it and then hand it to the person. That's how I view those stories.
Yeah,
like,
all of those things. Like if you read every single one of them, you could pick out something that applies to yourself, or at least not all of them. But that's why they're such bullshit.
It's so stupid. Well, and the church explicitly tells us not to fuck with that shit. And here's the thing: I think it is real, and that if you fuck with the occult, you're inviting the wrong kind of attention. And so I don't touch it at all. So when a girl asks me my astrology sign, I'm like, no, thanks. I don't want to talk about that. Mm-hmm. They get mad when you do that though. And they'll keep pressing and they're like I don't, and then I told her, this same girl, she kept pressing me on. She kept asking me. And I said, I don't participate in discussions that conflict with my personal beliefs. And I thought that was super clear, super polite, and she'd be cool. She's like, no. I know you think I'm going to try to psychologize you and that's going to make you uncomfortable, but this is just how I get to know people. So tell me. So literally I had told her my reasoning. She had ignored that, assumed she knew my reasoning, and then pressed it. And by the way, she absolutely was going to try to psychologize me. That is 100% what she was going to try to do, by the way.
With astrology.
And that was going to happen immediately. And by the way, not for nothing, I'm a Gemini. So I get all kinds of fucking wrongful discrimination. I get so much sign-based discrimination off that. They're like, oh, you're toxic. It's like, bitch, I just got here. I was born in. I didn't control when I was born. Anyway, I don't want to get into it.
Okay, I don't understand how they can be so firm in discriminating on you based on when you were born. But if I say anything about race, I get tossed out.
Yeah, or like, your gender is whatever you want it to be. But if you're fucking, born in September, that's just the way the cookie crumbles, motherfucker.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
I actually guessed my birthday
as a Leo, I have 100% Leo qualities. So I don't know what you're talking about.
As a Virgo, I only have the one negative.
I just know I'm a Virgo. That's it.
Oh.
and I don't even know the other ones.
I don't think you've been
Well,
a Virgo
as
for
a
a
Leo,
while.
the only one I know about is Leo. So, like, who knows?
Like, but to go based off what Arza just said, like, I also think like a lot of them is it's a lot of hypocrisy with a lot of people on the left, right? So
Yeah.
or they even and they don't really understand the terms that they're saying. So like when they call someone a Nazi, but they're the ones that actually practice everything that Nazis would
Socialism?
actually do.
Yeah.
The projection is real.
No, I saw a tweet the other day of a woman who was like, incels aren't just trolls in a basement. Incels are your brothers, cousins, friends,
Your fathers.
And I was like, fathers?
How? What? How?
Because this is why.
Magic.
Because she doesn't. Because this is the same thing. Actually, Jasmine did this in her original TikTok video, where she was like, she used incel to describe men complaining about women's behavior on dates. Except for incels don't go on dates; they're involuntarily celibate. So
Cue the
I was
Princess
like,
Bride meme.
right. But here's the thing. But she exactly. But she's using incel to mean man with bad opinion. Like she probably would describe my show as an incel podcast, and I am respectfully ran through. So, like,
Wait, you're ran through? You're ran through.
Ours is interesting.
I'm cooked.
No.
Ours wants his turn.
Here goes.
Ran through.
Yeah, I think
Ran
Jasmine's
through
not
does
the only one who
mean that
doesn't
you
know
have
what
been
certain words
sexually
mean there,
active.
Theo.
Ran through means this is you, this is everyone else.
Right.
Men,
Well, hey,
straight men don't get run through, my guy.
No. I didn't know that you had been treated that way by a priest. I'm very sorry to hear that.
thank you. Why were you assuming it was a priest?
Because you're
Gotcha.
Catholic.
Look,
Was
it might
it a
have been a
priestess?
Mennonite.
It could have been.
Look, unless you really like the strap on, men don't get run through.
I don't know. I feel like that was. I don't know. it was just a
Whatever
weird-
the male version of ran through is.
Yeah, I'm whatever the male. Thank you, Allie. I am whatever the male
Manslet.
version of ran through is. But she would
But he's
probably
changed his ways now. He's done all of his.
Yeah, and I fucking
rosaries or
talked about it
whatever.
on the show, and I thought that was
Yeah.
gonna buy me some fucking goodwill. But she was pissed about that too when I was describing
Yeah,
like being
'cause
super
she-
selective and scouting out. I couldn't impress upon her that like the reason I'm okay with a woman being picky when she's trying to decide if she wants to engage with me is because I've already been picky on the front end before I've even approched her. So that's the
So
thing.
you're like
you
I
wanna
you're
know
like
was
the
living on the front end.
Catholic. You're like the Catholic Andrew Wilson.
Yeah.
I will say that see, this is
Thank
the
you.
unfairness of language. Okay, women get great things like ran through. Men just get player and man whore.
Yeah, I'm a retired.
No, he didn't
man
get paid. He didn't get paid. A manslaughter.
Not every time.
Real.
I did.
Not
Not
every
every time, to be clear.
Both.
Okay.
You know, one thing I did remember her talking
Arslan
about.
is very shocked.
If I'm wrong about this, wasn't she arguing with you that there's no features to be attractive to or something like that? It was like, it was something where on attraction where
So there were 2 points on that. So one, I was trying to say one of the things that I'm concerned about when I deal with women is I try to be conscious of the fertility window. Like I'm not gonna waste a woman's time. Be like, come on, babe, why should we put labels on it? Let's just let's go with the flow. I'm not doing that. We're either doing this or we're not, and we're figuring it out.
Yeah, if
because we're
you
adults.
get to 2 years without proposing, you've wasted.
Then
your
fuck
both
off.
of
What are
your
you
time.
doing? You're wasting this bitch's time.
Yeah.
Like, figure it out. She's trying to have babies. Figure it out. I know guys who've done this. Who've like.
Yeah,
they
I have a friend who has been engaged for longer than my kid has been alive. She's been engaged for like 17
By the way,
years.
to answer this real
doesn't make
quick, I
sense.
needed a place to live. Okay, go ahead.
Aw, Theo, you're breaking my heart.
Don't feel bad for me. I deserved it.
Would it be well ridden? Ran through, well ridden.
Well ridden. No, because that sounds too positive.
What did you like to know? All right. Moving on.
You already stated it was your fucking ran through.
He's droopy bald.
Anyway.
You want to know what? Rode hard. I mean, yeah, that could be
yeah.
well ridden. Yeah, that's
Oh,
better
that's too
than
positive.
ran through for Theo.
Yeah.
You want the well ridden.
All right. Where we? Oh, the other thing. The other thing she was doing during that same discussion was I was trying to say I'm selecting women for traits that I think would lead to them being a good mother. And she was trying to say because she was trying, well, you don't know how good of a mother she'd be. And Allie was like, man, no.
Oh, yeah, that's what it was.
And I was like, yes. And I was looking at the chat. I'm like, okay, Allie's right about this. How do I say this in a way that, because, okay, that's the other thing too. Everything I said, I had to think what my actual thought is. And then I had to run it through my filter of how can I say this in a way that's palatable for her. So that's why.
Like a child.
Exactly. It's exactly like the way I would talk to a child. And Allie's being kind of, I wouldn't say it that way, but she's exactly right. Like I'm literally like, this is why we got to repeal the 19th. Because if I have to use baby talk to talk to you about reality, then your decisions shouldn't count the same as mine. Because I'm dealing with reality and you're not. I'm filtering it for you.
So yeah, that's the part I was thinking.
Yeah. So every time I would list a trait and I would say, I think this trait or this behavior pattern or X, Y, and Z is evidence that the woman would be a good mother. She'd like, right, but wouldn't she also just be a good person and good partner? And I'm like, yeah, but like good person and good partner traits. Does not necessarily equal good mother. Like some of the and it was hard for her to understand like I guess the two things that she didn't really grapple with was like, I reject women on the front end. They can reject me after I've approached them. But as I'm filtering through who I want to approach, I'm rejecting them on the front end. So this is where I'm being picky, is before the approach.
She doesn't know that there can be obvious traits of being a good mother, because I guarantee you, if she was on my show, I would find out very quickly that she didn't have a good mother.
I have a real world example. I have an ex-best friend whose daughter I helped raise, whose 3 kids I helped raise because she was a good person and partner. She was not a good mom. And she knows that about herself.
Yeah.
I kind of helped that along because I felt bad for the kids. So I had to raise them, and my brother, but like.
Well,
I was raised by a narcissist who did drugs. Okay. The only reason I know what a good mom is because my grandma was
right. You had someone. Yeah.
Yeah. I think her contention with that thing as well is I think she doesn't believe in love at first sight type of person as well too. So
only men have love at first sight.
I really believe in love at first sight.
Okay, well, like as a guy, like if there's a chick and like I'm like, oh man, that's who I wanted the mother of my kids, I'm gonna ask her out or whatever. Like I already got like the whole future planned and shit. And does it work out all the time? No. And I just go for it.
Like,
you know, within the first month, if not the first week.
Or it can even be the first date. Like it's just I did make a bad choice, so my fiance is in prison. But that's a whole nother kind of worm story.
Hey, we've all been there. All of us. Raise your hand if you have an ex who's been incarcerated. Raise your hands. Hands up. There we go. See, this is what I'm saying. We've all made that mistake. We've all done that.
But it's like, okay, you see the person.
Cal, don't look at us like that. The pussy was crazy. You don't understand.
Don't fuck crazy. I don't know how many times I have to tell my dude
how much better it is when they're crazy. Back me up, guys. It's so much
better. What's the grippy socks for extra traction?
Well, okay.
I posit
grippy socks, grippy box. That's how it works.
I posit
Hashtag
that is scary, but also
but
I posit that over time it will get to crazy levels of good. If you just like stick it out and train her a little bit, like you just
wait, hold on.
If it's a little bit boring at first, just over time you can train her.
I don't know. They didn't work out for Johnny.
No, you got a good point. You can. It's way
Johnny
easier
Depp
to take
had red flags from the jump.
Now I do want to point out that you guys are criticizing us for this standard, but literally one of the longest held stereotypes is that women always choose the least fit person to date if on a short term.
Well,
good girls choose bad guys paradigm.
I see.
Well, but a lot of guys know exactly what they want in a relationship from the get, even before the relationship even happens. Is like, and I think that's why it's easier to like, hey, if I go out with this person, I'm gonna still learn more about them, but I'm kind of in the area where I already know, like, hey, this is who I want for my future or whatever. within the week or month or whatever it is. I know it seems like a short time, but like I don't need like a million. Yeah, there might be some things we disagree on, but there's already some traits I'm looking for that, like, hey, this might be the forever person right here.
Men are much less picky than women, and they can tell right away.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying, men are much less picky than women, and they can tell right away.
Yeah, like there's dates I've been on. I'm like, okay, this shit ain't gonna work out. So
I just still overall just don't think I can add to my dating profile the question of, are you trainable?
Well, they're all trainable, Emerald.
100% of women are trainable. You just have to know how to do it. Like, there was a guy who straight up on his, like, he showed himself using a clicker on his girlfriend. Like, every time she did something good, he would straight up, like, click his tongue and give her, like, a little piece of candy or whatever. And over time, it worked. Like, he showed it working. It was so hilarious. I was like, yes, because absolutely, we are like dogs.
Okay,
I would posit that men are also like dogs.
Men are also trainable.
Yeah, well, how about you need that move?
Have you seen the meme that's going around? Is like, if your woman's yelling at her, just start shoving food in her face. So all these guys are making these videos where like their girlfriend gets in the car, they do something on purpose to make them mad, and they just like, as the girl's yelling, they start just handing her food. Yeah, and like she just shuts up.
Yeah, no, this is real. Like, I had a girl. I dated this girl when I was living in Inglewood. I was living with this girl because she came over to my house and didn't leave.
Wait, Inglewood, California, or Inglewood, Colorado?
Inglewood, California. Yeah, and she would hit me and stuff. So when she would get really turned up, I'd just throw her in the car and drive to Wingstop, and she would be mad until she figured out where we were going, and we'd park in front, and she'd be like, lemon pepper, and then we'd fix it.
Well, that's the thing. Even if we're like scared or concerned, it works too. Like, for example, there's a meme, but it's absolutely true, of these screenshots of text messages where a woman will be like, honey, I'm concerned about the war in the Middle East or whatever. And they'll be like, don't worry about it. Just make me a cake. And she'll be like, okay, yay. Like, that's 100% what it is. Like, if my husband, if I was like, honey, I'm really worried about something, he'd be like, don't worry about it. Just make me some cupcakes. I'd be like, okay, yay. And I will go and I will make the cupcakes and present them and be like, thank you for letting me make you cupcakes.
Are we pulling up an example?
I've been waiting for 30 minutes just sitting on the...
That's staged.
Okay, this one's staged, but there's other ones.
That's
it's just not it.
Are you serious?
That one might not be staged.
Are you serious?
Oh my God. That one looks real.
I hate it when you...
Oh, thank you. You're welcome.
Wow, they're all staged.
I don't know why you look for every opportunity to annoy me. Why are you coming by this time? Eh? Why are you coming by this time? It's not nice.
Okay, some of these are staged.
I told you to park on the other side.
Although I consider them all to be staged, it doesn't mean it's not true. FYI.
I don't know. I would be mad. Like, this only works. Like, this specifically only works on a certain type of woman. Because I would be furious. Like,
it only works.
This would make me really mad.
Food for me.
No, it wouldn't work for me for any food, even if it was my favorite food. Because well, my husband knows I do intermittent fasting 48 hours. And if it was on one of the 48 hours, I'd be so mad. I'd be like, what are you trying to do? Give me extra calories? The hell's wrong with you?
Well, like, knowing that, he should only do it when it's at the proper time.
You know, I
I've got a real life
why
example of this.
Not worth using the personal example to defute the average.
That's fair.
Hold on, Iris, go ahead.
The average
I've got
retarded.
this is one that actually I think you were there for this. We've been held up in a hotel the last few days due to the power outage, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get some beer tonight. She's like, yeah, but just get a 6-pack. I don't want to be in a hotel with you if you drink, like 12 and pass out. That's gross. So it's like, no, 6-packs is. Well, I'm getting the 12-pack. But on the way out of the Walmart, I grabbed the cheese puffs that she likes. It's like, no, it's gonna be cool. And then we go back to the hotel. She's like, I thought you were just gonna get the 12. Before she could finish the sentence, I handed her the cheese puffs. She's like, oh God, I love these.
Stop manipulating my bestie. I swear to God, Aaron.
No. Listen, y'all, this is what you don't understand.
Didn't drink all 12 at once. I spread it out over.
This is what you don't understand. This is not manipulation. This is like proper care and maintenance. It's not manipulation any more than doing a routine oil change on your car is manipulation. It is, and by the way, women do this to men too all the time because you guys pull your tits out whenever we're starting to act up, and a lot of times women you'll just pull your titties out instead of apologizing and taking accountability. And I forgot where I was going with that monologue. I was getting some really good misogyny there, and you just derailed me for no fucking reason. Okay, I remember. The point is, a lot of times y'all will just pull your titties out instead of taking accountability for your actions, and we're fine with that arrangement. We've just agreed as a society that that's okay, So
or like you could have a bad day and your girls just starts like stripping or whatever, and you're like, you're just like, okay, I could stop being mad for a minute or whatever or two.
My bad day
30
is so
seconds
much
at
better
best.
now because I got woman cuddles. Like that's what we're for. We're supposed to be soft and smell nice and make you chill out. Like
let me get the sandwich.
That's our job.
Yeah, and
I'm really bad at that job.
I mean, I could cook, so I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, and also
no, I'm just like the soft and cuddly.
No. Well, and that's the thing. It's like different men find different things comforting. Like some people, some men are. I like okay. If a woman is really good at the softness, I think some men prefer. Women, I think some men are comforted by the presence of a woman who's useful. Like the English, like a woman who's like soft and delicate and can blend in with high society. And the
See, I think that's also where the foot thing comes from. But that's a whole
I
other.
meant like literally
Theo's comforted by a woman who beats him. So
I meant like literally soft, like having soft skin. So like when you touch her, she feels nice to touch.
I like a woman with bloody knuckles. I like a woman who could fight. Personally.
I don't mean like a soft woman who's like
delicate.
I don't mean that. I just mean like when you touch her, it's nice. She smells good because you're coming home like from work where everyone smells terrible. You want to go home to not flowers. I don't like the smell of flowers, but like you want her to smell nice and smell fresh.
Oh yeah, dude! Comedy clubs smell like buttholes and beer. I don't want to smell that at home.
Try going to a convention.
Her arm and stuff like it's soft.
That's true. Oh man, no offense, Arza.
And that's part of why it's like
I've been to one.
We're talking about body odor. I feel bad, buddy. I'm sorry.
I've been to one convention in my entire life, Theo.
Bro, you got to come out to the next FNT meeting.
Well, like,
it was lit.
I mean, I could like women as soft, like, but my taste in women's vast, and some of you might think it's disgusting, but like, I like when women sweat, and like, I'll even come close and get a little sniff or whatever.
Okay, I think that's
all right. All right, we're coming right up on the 2-hour mark. Let's just wrap it up. I think that's a good place to call it.
You gotta be generous on the panel.
Let's cut it before Vagabond starts talking about feet. All right.
Or hentai.
Allie.
I swear it's not hentai.
You are an editor, author, all sorts of wonderful things. Where can people find you on the internet?
On the internet, you can find me on my Twitter, Lady Allie Books. That has my link to my Ko-Fi or Coffee or however you say it. And currently, that's where I do like most of my work, being a ghostwriter and an editor and stuff. So. I also have a YouTube channel, but watch at your own risk. Tomorrow, I'm going to do a stream about how the novel Frankenstein is anti-feminist. So watch that at your own peril.
Excellent.
That's part of my homeschool curriculum as well, too.
Excellent.
That's a great. Actually, that's a great title for a show.
By the way, yeah.
Watch
What?
at your own risk.
I mean,
Ooh.
watch at your own risk. Yeah, watch.
Write
watch
that
me
down,
at your own
buddy.
risk.
Titles are not your best thing.
what is wrong with insert title here?
Oh man. All right, Arza, what's up, buddy? Friend of the show. What kind of stuff do you get up to, and where can people find you?
Well, you can usually find me at Arza Chats on YouTube, Rumble, Instagram, TikTok, and X. But the problem is, I've been sick as a horse or dog, sick as a dog. I can't talk very well. I forgot the expression.
Sick as a whore.
Sick as a whore.
I said horse.
Whoa.
No,
You said,
said
no, you
horse.
did not.
I said
You
horse.
stopped before you could get to horse
absolutely
because
did
you
not
knew you
say
said the
horse.
wrong
Yeah.
thing and
Ugh.
it became whore.
But either way, my voice is gone. It hurts to talk, so I haven't done any videos in over it's
Ran
just like
through.
1 day. Sure. I'm bacterially run through it. Do that as you
Uh-huh.
will.
I don't
But
wanna.
normally I just put out daily videos, but can't talk, can't record, so no videos for until I get better. We'll see when that happens.
All right. That was disgusting. I'm glad we. All right. Vagabond, friend of the channel. What kind of
Yes.
stuff do you get up to? Where can people find you?
Besides
He's
being
my
a-
dad's favorite panelist, by the way. Go ahead.
besides being a romantic degenerate, so you can find me at the Runaway Vagabond, and every Friday I'm on Iron Oxides, the weekly Rogues Gallery. Here I'm practically almost here every Saturday, unless you're doing one-on-one interviews, and then later tonight I'll be on Anime for the Homies, and if I can figure out a solution tomorrow, I might start my first podcast tomorrow or the following weekend. It's just one of my monitors died, and I can't really function like I know. My productivity of how I do things is kind of gone. So
Do you have a Goodwill in your area? You can go get like a monitor or a small TV.
well, I'm
like
broke right now until
$15
around the 15th. So
Okay, no.
I mean, I got a small tablet monitor, one of those Cintiqs, so I might try to use that. But I haven't nothing set up for tomorrow either, so I'll have to figure that out. So we'll see if I swear I not hentai podcast starts tomorrow or not. So I'll make an announcement. But I might do an unboxing. I got something from Saba. Almost doxed myself. So, but yeah, I got one of the pre-orders from Saba. If you're that VTuber or whatever, for all the VTuber fans out there. But other than that, that's pretty much all that going on right now.
All right. Thanks for being here, buddy. We really appreciate it. Gal, you are a woman, and despite your disability, you come on my show every week, and we appreciate having you here. Thank you so much for your bravery. What kind of stuff do you get up to, and where can people find you?
I read despite my disability every Wednesday.
Stunning
on
and
my
brave.
show. I just yesterday did a special for the holiday. I read the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. It's a live stream called Cooking the Books, where I take the book list collecting dust in the corner and read it to you so you don't have to. I'm also a producer for Dermy Wormy, and I also go on to Screaming Into the Void, Samuel the Infamous's channel. Check it out. We talk about really random shit and shoot the shit, and it's a lot of fun. That's me.
Yes. Oh, thank you very much for being here. Iron Oxide, my friend, my partner in crime, my fellow Las Vegas resident. What kind of stuff do you get up to? Where can people find you?
Well, I'm finally home, so that's a good thing. It's been a rough weekend, but we'll be back in full swing Friday for the weekly Rogues Gallery. We'll be back at 5:35 p.m. PST. Then I'll be finally getting to go back on some of the other shows that I've been scheduled for. I'll be back on Sammy Three Pete's channel for Cavecast the following Saturday. Back here again for Touch Grass. And by the way, dude, you're sitting at 86. Let's see if we can get you up to 100 subs on YouTube by the end of the weekend. Already threw out an alert on Twitter, so hopefully that can happen. Everybody, if you're lurking, please do sub to the channel. Then while you're at it, go check out my channel. Give me a sub as well. Check out the Rogues Gallery on Fridays. We'll be putting Ironcast into motion in the following weeks, hopefully by the end of July. And you can, if you follow me on X, you can find all the updates there. And then you can I pop in on just about everybody here's shows, channels when I can, like Drunken Emerald on occasion over on Insert Title Here. Go to sub to his channel and like good stuff. Yeah.
All right. And Drunken Emerald Arrow, 99 overall producer, couldn't do the show without you. What kind of stuff do you get up to?
Well, lately I've been knitting. It's okay. Now I'm getting really the looks that I'm getting from Gal right now are ones of either disappointment or what the fuck. Anyway, so let's see. I am done for the rest of the weekend, and then I will be back on my channel at 7 p.m. 6 p.m. Tuesday for Nerds Covering the News. Do an hour show, just kind of covering some news that I see that want to talk about. Then on Wednesday over on Devil Made Me Do His channel is Make Me a Sandwich at 7 p.m. PST on Wednesday. Then on Friday, I'm rotating schedule on Iron Oxide's channel, Weekly Rogues Gallery. Then over on Gina and Sean's stream in the news roundup. That leads into Insert Title Here at 9:30 PST over on my channel. And then Cavecast Saturday mornings over on Sammy 3-Peat's channel at 8:30 a.m. PST.
Fantastic, buddy. Thank you for being here. Thank you, the whole panel, for being here. I am your host, Theo Snodgrass. I am here, of course, every Saturday, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, hosting Touchgrass with Theo Snodgrass. I am also on the Rogues Gallery on Fridays at 5:30. I'm also on Ironcast, upcoming show. That's good. That's going to be very exciting. We're going to get that done. If you want to see me do live stand-up comedy, I am going to be at Buck's Tavern on the 9th of this month. And then I will be at the C3 Restaurant and Lounge on the 10th of this month. I will be at, and those are both in Las Vegas, Nevada. I will be at Wise Guys Comedy Club in Salt Lake City on the 12th of this month. Later on in the coming weeks, I will be in such cities as Spokane, Washington, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, Seattle, Washington, Coos Bay, Oregon, Portland, Oregon, and who knows wherever else I may be. So if that sounds interesting to you and you want to see where I'm going to be and when I'm going to be in a city near you, go ahead and follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram, follow me on YouTube. That's the important one. Follow me on Rumble, even though Rumble didn't play ball with me today. Follow me on Rumble anyway, because they pay me money. So we like Rumble. Shout out to Rumble, friend of the channel. And always make sure to tune in to Touchgrass every week. Oh, and be on the lookout for my solo show coming soon, Theocracy with Theo Snodgrass. We don't know what day, we don't know what time, but the thumbnail's already made, so that's coming soon. Be on the lookout for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right. Take it easy, folks. We're doing a hard out.